trying to decide if I'm gonna ignore how hard I killed this or if I'm gonna make sure we get a minute to get into it. Based on what I read about Toni, she would definitely get into it. Whew. Alright, I'm gonna stop playing. We need to review Sula. We need to review Sula. Run the title sequence.
Read a book, you illiterate son of a bitch. Above your vocab.
Hi everyone, my name is Cree Miles, aka right now Black Emily Dickinson. I think that I'm going to do a rebrand pretty soon. But I'm really excited to talk to you all today about my fifth beloved Bluest Eye, Tar Baby, Jazz. Fifth Toni Morrison novel, Sula. As I was reading it and going through it very publicly in my stories, people were DMing me like, I really wish that I would have prepared you more. I too wish you would have prepared me more. So Sula takes place in the fictional Ohio town of Medallion. Follows Nell and Sula, two young girls who just grow up in the community. It's a homogenous community of all black people. And where else would you go? Like when you're trying to give the synopsis. I don't even know where to go. The book is very similar to Bluest Eye in that all exposition and conflict. We get some backstory, some go down. Backstory, some go down. So the big themes that I pulled out of this story were loneliness and the non-binary of humanity. We'll dive into that one in a second. But as far as loneliness, if we're talking about the women in the story, so we got Nell, Sula, Hannah, Eva, Helene, and all of the different types of lonelinesses that they encompass. Loneliness of individuality, the loneliness of expectations, the loneliness of apathy, the loneliness that is anger and betrayal, and all of these different types of lonelinesses happening despite the fact that they are in this small, homogenous, tight-knit community, which really makes me unpack what type of community do we really need for people so that they aren't lonely. And then the other one, the in-between of humanity, that everyone is three-dimensional and no one is good or bad. Everyone is generally good and bad, and most people aren't the worst things that they've done, though some people just are. Hitler immediately comes to mind because we have this ginormous betrayal of friendship, and Sula, like, I'm still like fucking with her low-key. How? You know? I mean, because the book was so exposition, conflict, exposition, conflict, exposition, conflict, when Toni slows down and gives us some dialogue, my guy, I'm saying, Toni, give us some dialogue. Because that conversation between Nell and Sula on Sula's deathbed left me shooketh, left me being like, oh, maybe Sula does have a point. But like, I'm a married woman, so I'm like, what you out here sleeping with your best friend's husband for, sis? Get it together. But she did have it together, sorta. That's wild. But yeah, the dialogue was so fire that I actually have decided to start a new series called the BED Finger Puppet Theater, in which I am going to do dramatic retellings of iconic dialogue scenes in books. Okay? You can't have it all, Sula. Why? If I can do it all, why can't I have it all? You can't do it all. You a woman, and a colored woman at that. You can't act like a man. You can't be walking around all independent like, doing whatever you like, talking what you want, leaving what you don't. You repeating yourself. How am I repeating myself? You say I'm a woman and colored. Ain't that the same thing as being a man? I don't think so, and you wouldn't either if you had children. Then I really would act like what you call a man. Every man I ever knew left his children. Some were taken. Wrong, Nelly. The word is left. You still going to know everything, ain't you? I don't know everything, I just do everything. Well, you don't do what I do. You think I don't know what your life is like? Just because I ain't living it? I know what every colored woman in this country is doing. What's that? Dying. Just like me. But the difference is they dying like a stump. Me, I'm going down like one of those redwoods. I sure did live in this world. Really? What have you got to show for it? Show? To who? Girl, I got my mind. And what goes on in it? Which is to say, I got me. Lonely, ain't it? Yes. But my lonely is mine. Now your lonely is somebody else's. Made by somebody else and handed to you. Ain't that something? A second-hand lonely. She didn't really walk off because she was in the bed, you know, because she was dying. A few weeks ago, I listened to a podcast entitled Talk Easy, and they had on there Fran Lebowitz, who is one of Toni's closest friends. And something she said about Toni that really stuck out to me was that we're always talking about us as humans needing to be the bigger person, and she was like, Toni was the biggest person. Toni was an enormous person because she could always see entire people. People weren't just the way that they were acting in front of her. And that's something that she does in her writing that's extremely special, which is why she is the GOAT, is that she doesn't give us characters, she gives us people. Whenever I read any Toni Morrison novel, there are things that I just don't understand. After I read something and it has moved me, and if it's got some years behind it like Sula does, I'll try and find some critical essays or an engaging other booktuber or bookstagrammer who has spoken about it. It will always be annoying that a book as black and woman as Sula, the most hits are by the white male John Green. But that's a different conversation for a different day. When she's talking about Sula trying to love Ajax, but she didn't even know his name, and then it's the brown, and then the gold, and then the alabaster, I don't know what was going on. And then at the very end of the book, when they're marching and into the coal mine, not completely sure what was happening. I'm okay though with not knowing. I don't have to know everything. I hope that I would not think that I knew everything. Even in not understanding, the prose obviously are so excellent that just being in company with them does something to me. I think I said this in Parable of the Sower. At the foreword, the new foreword was by N.K. Jemisin, and she talked about how she read Parable of the Sower at 3 different points in her life, each spaced out about 15 years. And that's just how it's gonna be. Like, I'm just gonna have to reread. I'm gonna try and read everything I can till I'm 60, and then I'm gonna just start rereading stuff to see how it hits different, because hopefully it would if I'm living correctly. That's my review of Sula. Obviously you need to read it. We all need to read every book that Toni Morrison has written. That's on period. But thank you so much for engaging in this review. I will say from the bottom of my heart, forever and ever and ever, thank y'all so much. Outpouring of love around me launching my Patreon. This is my favorite thing to do, and if I could do it all the time, I would. And getting money to do it makes it so that I can do it all the time. I always knew that I wanted to create content, and I leaned into literature because I did not want to create vapid content. This has just been really rewarding. So that's on period. I'll see you guys later. Some fun things in the works for August. I don't know when you're going to see them, but I'm out here doing it to it on period. And I will see you guys next week. I will have a review next week because I'm reading 2 books. I don't know if it'll be a video review, but I will have one up for you. Okay, bye.